Going on to the next. We're just gonna hit on these like pretty quickly. Uh, One of the stories we kind of talk about in the latest episode of the main podcast. So so
We're gonna
we
touch
won't
on it
get too
super
deep. We
light.
won't get too deep into it here. So if you want to, if you want to hear, more in depth kind of reaction, check out the podcast that will drop on Monday, and also you get to hear James's perspective as well. So, but
That's yeah.
yeah, but for those of you who are not aware, it recently came to light that a number of people were kind of gaming the system to get their children into college, and most notably is Lori Loughlin and Felicity Huffman. Lori Loughlin, of course, star from or well known from Full House, and Felicity Huffman from Desperate Housewives. But I think for some reason, Lori Loughlin has been getting a lot more of the attention than, say, Felicity Huffman. I think it's partly to do to the nostalgia crowd, because we all remember her, as Aunt Becky, the maternal figure to the entire Tanner clan. And so, hearing about this from her, just kind of like breaks your heart a bit.
Was all her shows on like Hallmark got taken away?
Yeah.
She's off of Fuller House.
Oh yeah, her character. Yeah, because I guess her character, was brought back on for like subsequent seasons of the kind of relaunch of Full House, but with like DJ and the girls, but Fuller House. So yeah, her character was dropped. I heard on one of my one of the podcasts that I listened to is like, I hope they and they said, I hope they go the route of Roseanne and have her OD on pills or something.
Jesus.
But yes, we do go into it in depth a little bit more, but suffice to say that we think that this is terrible. Especially at some of the methods that they use to get their children into on these short lists, as it were, for acceptance to these schools. Whether it's lying about extracurriculars, or getting getting other people to take the exams, or bribing proctors who officiate exams to kind of like look the other way, or even like kind of during the test, if the child marks down a wrong answer, you can kind of like walk by like and just nudge him, it's like, and point out the right one.
The one thing I asked is like like how did this all like come to light? And I still need to do some research on it, but from what it looks like is that they were investigating something completely different from this issue. Mm-hmm. And I guess like someone that they were kind of that was getting ready to possibly be indicted or whatever, or it's like, hey, you think this is bad, why don't you like take a look over here. And I don't know if it was something that was also kind of college related, or if it was something kind of that, but or how this person was involved. Like I said, I still need to do some digging, but the it was just, this whole scandal came about because of something. I guess it was something that was completely different that was being investigated. But I think this exposes, to be honest, like that college is not what it is promoting. College is supposed to be something where people are pursuing advanced academic improvement of themselves, and that's really just not the case anymore. It's just not what it is. It's essentially a $250,000 social club. And that's because a lot of the kids that are going there, unless they're learning something like engineering or whatever, they're not actually learning anything. They're learning about lesbian dance theory and socialism, and not learning about socialism through like a history course, but like they're being brainwashed into becoming socialists.
Right, and they're taught U.S. history through Howard Zimm's History of Nations or whatever. So now, see, so they're not actually getting balanced critical education anymore. They're just being indoctrinated. And
that's the thing. If it'd be one thing if like, okay, we're discussing this, but we're also like presenting it like from another side. We're presenting all sides of how people view it. Let's discuss, and actually formulating, learning how to argue different points of view, learning how to understand, and developing like rhetoric and how to argue different sides of an issue. That'd be one. I think that's something that's beneficial, but that's not what's happening in colleges.
No, it's not.
And I don't know if I'm. It's a bit scary at the moment.
As much as these parents want the best for their kids, how can they like, especially for in the case of Lori Loughlin's kid, who who is a YouTuber, a fairly successful one, and like a social media influencer. She was already making money.
I hate that term.
I know, me too. I hate that. Yeah. I hate that term too, influencer. Like, what does that mean? Like, so, like, if we got to the point where we somehow had influence over people, then we could then influence them to do stupid shit.
It makes us look like, I think that term makes us look like cult leaders.
A little bit, yeah. It's a little culty. But yeah, she she was well on her way to having her own career, making her own money, and instead of going to her parents and saying, "Hey, mom and dad, I know you want me to go to school to learn or and get my degree or whatever, but I already have a career. I'm already making money. I'm already doing all these. I'm doing all the things that a person who after college would be doing, but I'm doing it without the degree and not having to spend mount, or at least not for them, but mountains of money on it. So why don't I just continue on this course of action? And if something changes where all of this goes away, then I'll go back. Then I'll go to school. Because I think that is a completely logical and coherent plan.
Yeah.
Because if she's already doing the things that a person would be doing after college, after high school, then why not continue and pursue it and cultivate it?
Well, and so I don't want to dive too much into this, but her daughter really didn't want to go to school that. The only she was talking about, like, yeah, I mean, I want the experience of going to games and partying, and it's like, okay, well, that's not college. That's just like, that's kind of the extra side benefit that you could kind of get anywhere, to be honest. Yeah,
go to a bar,
and
you get a group of your friends together, have a party.
you can do that.
Go to a Rams game, go to a Chargers game. Basically the same thing.
Right. But the the thing, but other than that, it's like it wasn't about academics. She didn't care, and
she admitted as much.
And the fact that like so much money was spent on like a certain school, it's like you could have. Okay, if that was the case, like, oh, I really want to get to school, and I want to get to this school, but like I don't. Maybe like my initial like SAT scores aren't that great. So there's so many other options to transfer into those academies if you so wish. There's community college, or you start at a lesser school that will take you in, and then you find like that there's certain schools that will help you as far as making the transfer and doing the things that you want to do, if you're willing to put the work in. But I think it's you're spending all this money beforehand, and then you're spending all the money to get to that. So you're spending, what, like $1 million, $2 million to get into these programs. It's completely dumb. It's right. So
well. I mean, yeah, the $500,000 was for both of her daughters, and that wasn't just like a one-time payout. It was like small payments, like multiple, like a bunch of different people.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, not that not that it makes a super big difference. Yeah, I think.
And now it's like, and now her daughters are being vilified. Like I think, like
actually, that's right. That's right.
People that like her.
I wanted to bring
her YouTube daughter, Olivia Jade, is lost some of her. Like some of the people that she was working with have pulled out. So
right, yeah, and also kind of an update.
Her career.
Kind of an update to that. I forget if they're dropping out, or if they are merely taking a leave of kind of like taking an absence from school. But Lori Loughlin's daughters, like either dropped out or are taking some time off because they're afraid they're going to get bullied.
Oh God.
Because that's the worry, that they're going to get bullied. Like more like they're going to get roasted.
Yeah, pretty much.
Talking about getting bullied. Bullied for what? Like, oh, my parents are so rich that they basically bought me a place in this school. Jeez.
Yeah.
And it's not like it would be totally undeserved bullying. Because I mean, my sister, she went to USC, and my parents aren't balling. They didn't pay like $500,000 to secure her, my sister her spot. She went to school. She didn't go to USC right away. She took some time off. She worked for a little bit, and then she went back to like you said, she went back to community college, got her grades up, got her things together, and then she went back to USC, and then she applied to all of these different scholarships, and got financial aid and all that stuff, and she was able to go. She graduated. Now she has a really good job.
And see, that's the thing. It's like she took a break, developed a plan, made it happen, and that's what you're supposed to do. If that's the direction you want to go, that's the way to do it.
Right. I mean, for my kids, I'm not gonna have like a specific like college fund. I'm gonna call it like seed money.
No.
I'm gonna call it seed money. And then so after high school, they could either go to college, but it'd have to be for a really good reason: doctor, lawyer, engineer. That's it. Other than that, they could either go to a trade school, and learn a trade, or they could use it to start a business. But then they have to pitch me the business idea, and they could use that money, as seed money for their business.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the three. Those are the three, and then like if my kids went to trade school, I would I would give that, I give them the money, to, I don't know, to buy a house, or I don't know, whatever, like to start their business, in like specifically in that trade. Um, yeah, because
Honestly, like if
as
my
of
kids
right
like
now,
wanted to
college
do
is
like trade
absolute
school,
garbage. Huh?
if my kids end up wanting to do trade school, I would be super excited
Hells yeah! I'd be like,
because
hells yeah! I'll pay
I
for that.
honestly think that it's the thing is like I honestly think that right now that's the best way to go because you can make a ton of money in that like going into like through kind of developing a trade and going into that because they're so they can't hire people in some of these professions just because nobody wants to be there and so
Right?
they're
Yeah, and
willing
I
to
mean,
like
what is it?
they have jobs that no one's taking and it's like so they're going to pay out the buttload for people to go there.
Yeah, and it's kind of related, but I really love Mike Rowe. He's really I really like him, and
Yeah,
he has this like kind of scholarship program for the trades, and all you have to do is keep up your grades, and there's a requirement for the program, but in an interview he confessed that it's getting harder and harder to find people with that kind of work ethic.
work ethic. Yeah.
Yeah, because like the kids that come to him now for like this scholarship, or whatever, uh, they kind of almost expect it. They say, oh, I showed up, so you have to give me the money. It's like, that's not how it works.
No.
Yeah, you have to keep up your grade. You have to write this essay. You have to keep up. You have to keep up your grades. You have to meet all of these like requirements before you get the money. And then he basically gets like a kind of gasp from these kids. Like, I have to do all of that. And it's like, well, yeah.
And see that's the problem is everyone thinks like, oh, I'm going to trade school. That means I'm dumb. It's like, no, you're not. A lot of people that are in in these um, you know programs or in professions, they're smart people. It's just like they want to do something different. They want to work with their hands. They want to feel like they're accomplishing something. Like,
Right. I mean, my
and
dad, he was in
we've
the
been fooled.
trades.
Yeah,
My
we're fooled into believing that like, oh, only if you're smart you go to college and you do and I'm not you know laughing at people who go to college like, hey, look how dumb you are going to college. It's like, if you're doing like lesbian dance
Yeah, only
theory or
I'm laughing
underwater
at kids that
basketball,
go to
you're an
college.
idiot.
Yeah, if you're going to school for a
Well,
dumb reason,
college,
then yeah, I'm laughing at you. But if you're going to, college, university, to become a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer, I was like, all right, good on you. Because that actually takes some, learning to do. But yeah, like
and
my dad, he got his certificate from Pierce College here in the Valley, and a bunch of different things. And he was kind of in the trades. He did landscape. He did some small construction. He did some plumbing. He did some electrical stuff. He was kind of a jack of all trades. And he was able to run moderately successful business. I mean, we were constantly fed. We had a roof over our heads. We had cable TV. At least back in the day, cable TV was really a mark of that. You really made it. But
right. But kind of the idea that like, oh, I'm going to trade school, it means like you failed. It's like, no, that's not a failure. Like
welders make a shit ton of money.
Right. I mean, if like, listen, there's everyone's going this direction, and it's oversaturated, and unless you're doing a couple, certain things, there's not really a whole lot of money to be had.
Yeah. Why?
I can go this direction, and where no one's going, and there's all these jobs that they're all available, that no one's taking, and there's a lot of money involved. And if like you want to like be able to, do something with like your life, have a family, do all this stuff, I'm gonna go the other direction. Let me
why compete in a crowded field? Why compete in a crowded field when
exactly.
Because in a crowded field it's hard to stand out. But if you're if you're completely open field, then you automatically stand out.
Yeah.
All right, I think okay. I think we satisfied this one. This story long enough. Plus, I think we also, we gave a little bit extra that, we didn't necessarily give in the main episode. So I hope you're happy.
That's what I was trying to focus on, doing something different than what we did.
Yeah. Yeah. Hope you're happy, jerk faces. All right, next scandal is the scandal with Tucker Carlson, and recently this kind of progressive, left-leaning, I guess, site or something called Media Matters. They do a bunch of hit pieces on a bunch of different folk. They basically dug up old audio of Tucker Carlson, saying less than PC things on a shock jock a shock jocks radio program. And he was just saying un-PC things, like saying that feminists should learn to shut up and listen, or women like a strong, assertive man, and the like, kind of things that's like, well, duh. But of course, because Tucker Carlson is probably the premier pundit on Fox. I think his ratings, far exceed Sean Hannity's show. He's a target, and they came after him.
God, they have been really coming after Tucker Carlson the last like few months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, Antifa went to his house and like cracked the front door when he wasn't even there.
Yeah, pretty horrific stuff. So here's the thing with this story, and people are gonna say like, "Oh, you're being hypocritical, Robert." Like, because last week we talked about with Michael Jackson and like all the stuff that was in the past, and I was like, okay, well here's a difference here. See, Michael Jackson's like stuff that there's still victims that are still affected by what he did, and I think that we need to bring more light to that. In the case of Tucker Carlson, who did he hurt? Nobody. Left, they're crying outrage and all this stuff. No one on that side is hurt. They don't care. And when he was on that radio program, he was on MSNBC. He wasn't on Fox News.
Right.
And
that's right. That's one of the things that's one of the things that people are constantly forgetting. Like that time was 10 years ago, and that Here's the thing: Tucker Carlson worked for CNN and MSNBC before coming over to Fox. Does that mean what he said during those times that were unsavory? Does that fall? That should fall, on the shoulders or responsibility of MSNBC? No, I don't think so.
Well, according to them, it should.
Well, exactly. According to the social justice types, it should. But I don't think so. It's just one man who espoused some opinions. Were they unsavory? Not really.
To me, it's like.
But I think I think like, the man.
It wasn't like clean and nice language, but no one's outraged. It's all bullshit. Nobody cares.
No, it is bullshit, and and he was on. It's not like he was doing freaking NPR. He was doing a program whose host legally changed his name to his radio show moniker, which is Bubba the Love Sponge. The guy legally changed his name to that. Bubba the Love Sponge. Do you think they're talking about they're really talking like hard hitting things on Bubba the Love Sponge radio show? You think they're going in depth in like the in financial or budgetary topics on Bubba the Love Sponge?
No, it's about saying outlandish things.
Exactly.
And the thing is, it was like it's 10 years ago. So if Tucker Carlson was still saying the same things that he said on this radio program on Fox News, maybe then there could be an argument about like maybe this isn't the best language to be using. But that's not what's happening.
No, of course not.
It's the guy. He's much older. He's he's 10 years older, and he's on a different platform, and even said it's like, listen, if you want to know what I think, come watch my show, and if you disagree with me, you're more than welcome to come on and have a discussion about it. I'm more than open to be talking about it, but I'm not going to apologize to the Media Matters mob, and he shouldn't apologize to anybody.
Right, and 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 I hope other people follow suit. When attacked, in a similar manner. But what was hilarious was, Brian Stelter of CNN basically accused Tucker Carlson of trying to get people to watch his show for ratings. Because on CNN they had like a panel and they're talking about it and it's like, oh well, Tucker Carlson, that was just a ratings ploy. It's like, yeah, of course he says come watch my show if you want to know what I really think about he's just trying to get people to watch his show. It's like, well, what the hell are you guys doing talking about Tucker Carlson on your show? You're trying to get people to come and watch your show and to hear what you have to say about this specific subject. You're doing the same. You're using Tucker to try and pull ratings. You're doing the exact goddamn same thing.
That's about the only way that they're gonna get ratings.
I mean, besides besides airports and gyms, no one is watching CNN.
I think the most inflammatory comment was from Chris Cuomo, who was trying to kind of saying it's like, oh well, if you apologize, like well then we're gonna pretty much string you up, and then if do you why can't you say them, like obviously, like do you still believe it or don't you still believe it, and he was just acting like the ignoramus that he really is in real life. It's just
the douche nozzle that he truly is.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, like, none of these, I guarantee 100%, none of these people give two fucks about what he said, but because he's on a competing network, that gets better ratings, and he's a much more reasoned person than they are, because he's a He's really good at debate. He's able to, I think he argues his position well, and they hate that about him.
Yeah. And he laughs in their faces.
And I don't blame him.
He literally laughs in he literally laughs in their faces because I'll admit I love Tucker Carlson. I tune into his show every once in a while, and especially back in the early days when he had to people on, and he would just kind of try to debate their ideas as opposed to them trying to filibuster or trying to attack him personally. They would say something absurd, and then he'd have this kind of inquisitive look on his face, and then he would kind of reiterate their argument, and it would just be the most ridiculous thing, and he just end up laughing at them.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't agree with everything that Tucker says, but the man is really he's well versed, and he knows how to argue his points.
Right.
And yeah, you know what? And so people are going to call me a hypocrite because I don't care what he said 10 years ago, but I cared about what Michael Jackson did 10 years ago. But you know what? Go fuck off because they're two completely different things.
That's just par for the course because they conflate words with action. Words are violence.
Well, yeah, words are violence nowadays.
Yeah, words are violence now.
Yeah.
So now they're taking today's context and applying it to back then. So Tucker Carlson's words were violence. So so there are victims, but no one has since come forward to say how Tucker Carlson has had wrought violence on onto them.
Yeah, it's complete horseshit.